everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of losing a loved one. In the last video, I had received a phone call telling me that my dad was no more, that he had rested, he had gone to a place where there is no more pain. In today's video, I will share with you how my father's death had an impact on me. From the moment I got that phone call, my perception of life in general changed. I had so many questions and nobody to help me answer them. One of the things that immediately hit me was how short life is. I couldn't believe that my dad was no more. My immediate reaction was a denial. I went to this place where I could not believe that my dad is no more. How can he not be there? What do you mean he is dead? So I was in denial, I think, for a very long time, even up to the last minute just before he was actually buried. I refused to accept that my dad had passed away. The second thing I noticed was all of a sudden my appetite went. And I kept telling myself, what is the point of eating? Why am I eating? And yet, one of these days, I will also die. My whole world collapsed. I kept asking myself, where is my dad? I'll never see him again. He will never ever talk to me again. I hated life itself. I kept telling myself, what is the point? Why are we even born in the first place? All the time we have taken on this planet to go to school, we make plans for the future, we get married, we have children, we acquire wealth. What is all this for? And eventually you will die and leave everything. So I was in a very bad place. Another thing I noticed from the moment I got that phone call about my dad passing away, I was unable to sleep. All I could see were flashbacks of the times we had spent with my dad. I could see him laughing. I could see him seated in his chair. So you can imagine, for 3 days, I could not eat and I could not sleep. I was dehydrated. I think, being the firstborn, we had a very, very solid and strong relationship. I was devastated by my father's death, and it is almost 20 years since he passed away, and I have never accepted, I have never come to terms with the fact that he is no more. There is no single day that goes by without me thinking about him. While I was still confused and in that very difficult space after losing my dad, arrangements were made and we finally laid him to rest after 1.5 weeks, and the funeral was very painful. When you lose a loved one, you are surrounded by the community, you're surrounded by friends and relatives, and it kind of eases the pain. In my experience, during that 1.5 weeks after my dad had died, I saw my uncles, I saw my aunties, I saw friends who came to comfort me, and that made a lot of difference. But after he was buried and people now started dispersing, going back to their places of work or going back home, you are left as a family to now properly grieve for the loss of your loved one. In my experience, I found that very difficult as well. To walk into a room and realize this used to be my dad's favorite chair, and he's not there anymore, and he will never sit in that chair again. That in itself brings back flashbacks and memories of the departed one. After the funeral, we had no choice but to stick together as a family, to comfort one another, and then we just had to move on because it has happened. It is very painful, but there's nothing you can do about it. It was a very difficult time for us as a family. We had to pull ourselves back together. I went back to work in Nairobi, and tradition has it that after 40 days, when you have buried your loved one, you come back to his grave. This is a ceremony that is performed in the western part of Kenya. As I came into our compound, the first thing I could see was my father's grave. So this is something else I had to learn to live with, because each time you come to the compound, the grave is there, and you just have to take one day at a time. Another thing I realized again during functions like weddings or Christmas or Easter, you still think about your loved one and you wish they were there, because when you're all sitting down to have a meal, that is when it hits you that one of you is missing at this table. You just have to come up with a coping mechanism. It does get better with time, but it doesn't take away the pain. If you were to ask me, the pain is still there. It's just still there, like when I got that phone call. And again, my dad is always on my mind. It's almost 20 years since he passed away, but there's not a single day that passes without me thinking about him. So to sum up everything about the 2 videos that I have shared with you about losing a loved one, what I came to learn out of the loss of my dad is death is part of us, it is part of life. And also, as we go through life, it is very important that we create and share memories, so that when you lose your loved one, even though they are gone physically, you still have them in your heart. You can remember them with the memories. And also something else, probably from a Christian point of view, and I found that really helped me come to terms with death. As a Christian, I believe that there is a life beyond the grave. As far as I'm concerned, my dad is resting and I will see him one day. We shall definitely meet again. There is life beyond the grave as a Christian, and that keeps me going. It gives me hope for tomorrow, and also in a way it prepares me, because I know, should I pass away today, there is life beyond the grave. I have always wanted to share with you this experience about losing a loved one, and it has been very emotional for me to share it with you. Take good care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.